Please welcome to the stage, Dr. Hod Lipson.
Hod, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. So I am a roboticist, and my students and I build all kinds of robots. We design, build, teach robots to do all kind of crazy things like self-replicate and repair, self-repair, robots that build other robots, robots that ask questions, and robots that create, and robots that are creative. And our personal moonshot is to build a robot that is self-aware. We are working on that hard, and I think it's going to happen, robots that live amongst us. But I'm here today to talk about a different kind of robot, and that is the driverless car. And I'm passionate about driverless cars, not because I like driving or because I like cars, but because I think driverless car is the example, is the first robot ever, the first fully autonomous robot that we will interact with on a daily basis. We will trust our lives to, we will trust the lives of our children to this robot. You know, Hollywood talks about all these robots, the first robots being butlers and pets, but no, it's going to be your car. It's going to be the first autonomous robot you will trust your life to. I'm passionate about this. I've been speaking about it. I've been writing books because I think most of us, even the tech people here, sort of underestimate the impact of this impending revolution, what the ripple effect is going to be, and how it's going to transform every aspect of our lives. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Now, there are a lot of skeptics out there, and I've been on radio shows and TV arguing with people who say not only that it's not possible, but it's difficult. Who needs it? We like to drive. Jobs will be, lost. I mean, all kinds of arguments against this driverless cars. But the reality is, I'll save you the entire debate. The reality is that driverless cars are already here. It's not a question of is it possible. It's not even a moonshot. We've landed. We're there. It happened already. It's not just Waymo. There are cars everywhere now that drive themselves without even a driver, without a safety driver. It is already happening. And it's not just Waymo and other companies. Companies are lining up. AutoX from China has asked for permission to test cars without a safety driver in California. Companies are lining up to offer these services. It is here. It is happening. Now, skeptics will look at this and say, still, they'll say, yes, but. Yes, but it's just Phoenix. It's just Arizona. It's just the daytime. It's just slow speed. Whatever, there's always a yes, but, and the question is, what's going to happen next? Can cars drive in other places? And in fact, the answer is yes. This is actually Mobileye showing one of their cars driving in Jerusalem, fully autonomously. And I can tell you as an Israeli that driving in Jerusalem is harder than driving in New York. It makes like Manhattan look like a walk in the park. I mean, look at that. Look at that bus blocking the road there. You can see the car trying to edge its way in, and it's a game of chicken, and you have to pretend this is the reality in Jerusalem. It's hard, and it can do it. The technology can handle human psychology better than any sort of newbie driver. So people will say, well, that's great, but can it drive in the snow? Well, yes. Waymo's now testing right now in Michigan in the snow. Can it drive trucks? Auto is doing that. Can it drive highways? Can it drive at night? What about smaller, other form factors? Yes, they're already, JD in Beijing is already delivering groceries and things in small pods that drive on sidewalks. It is already happening. It's not just JD, it's Amazon and FedEx and Starship and you name it. All these companies are already deploying these things commercially. So it is already happening. So the question before you is not if, and it's not when. It is what's next. That's the question. It is already happening. It is deploying. And the question is now, in front of Waymo, for example, is a business question. What is the priority of deploying this? Where are the best ways to move forward with this? And all the other companies are trying to do the same. Now, there's a long history to this. It was very interesting. We've been trying to build driverless cars for almost a century. 1939, New York World Fair. GM has this pavilion. It's the most popular pavilion. 1939, 80 years ago. GM was like the Google back then, with all these amazing technology. People line up to see what the future city might look like. And this is what it looks like. They hang from the ceiling. It's a crazy, wouldn't be approved today, but that's what they did back then. And they look down and they can see the skyscrapers and factories and amazing things. But the thing that everybody's excited about the most are the driverless cars that roam the streets. That is 1939. But it turns out that making driverless cars is extraordinarily difficult. In fact, I would say it's harder to drive a car than to go to the moon. It took us 80 years to do that. You should be very proud every time you drive a car. It's an extraordinarily difficult thing to do. It took a long time to get there, and a lot of technologies. And a lot of technologies had to converge to make that happen. Of course, there's Moore's Law, faster, cheaper, and better computer. You've seen this chart a million times, but this is this data. I plotted it on a linear scale so you can see really how fast. This is gigaflops per dollar. How fast we've been moving in the last couple of years. And I'm always amazed when I look at this chart and I see. Look at the poor people in 2010 who thought they had fast computers, right? This is where we are today, and it keeps astonishing me. But this is not the whole story. There's more to it, and the big thing that enabled driverless cars is the AI that allows the car to drive. So here I'm sitting in the back of a fully autonomous vehicle driving in New Jersey by NVIDIA, where a lot of their development behind the scenes is going. And you can see, so we heard yesterday how the AI now can look at an image and tell you if it's a cat or a dog very reliably. Well, you can also teach it to ingest a video camera feed and decide whether you should turn a little bit left or a little bit right. So you can see these green lines are 20 AIs driving the car at the same time. Now I was sitting in the back there, and I was praying that they agree about where to drive, because I don't know what happens when they disagree, but I was told when they disagree, the car slows down, all right? So at least we have that. But it's interesting that it's all statistics. There's no rules there. Who to kill, 3 kids or 4 nuns, or there's none of these ethical questions there. It's all statistics. It's calculating with 5 digits of precision, the probabilities of hitting everything. They're all voting, they're aggregating, and it does the path that is optimal at every given millisecond. It's evaluating it. So this is how it works. It works in real time. It's trained, and it's all based on data. So this is a chart that shows how quickly these AIs are learning. This is the amount of computational power per model, per AI of the last couple of years. And you can see that it's growing. It's doubling every 3.5 months, doubling every 3.5 months. That is, it makes Moore's Law look like a flat line. This is how fast this technology is moving forward, and it is ingesting huge amounts of data. So when you want to look at how companies are doing in this space, don't look at the press releases and their announcement. Look at one number, which is how many miles they've driven, how much data they have. That is really what is driving this. It took Google, Waymo, a couple of years to get to 10 million miles of driving, and they announced just last week that they've already completed another 10 million miles just last year, in 1 year. So this is exponential growth for you, and this is what is driving this technology. And that's Waymo, but Tesla, who knows how many miles of autonomous driving they have, probably around 2 billion miles. Those numbers are extraordinary, and this is the fuel that is driving this technology. And it's important to understand, it's a little bit unintuitive, that when it comes to driverless cars, you see, we humans, we can have only one lifetime of experience at most. But the driverless car can have many lifetimes of experience, because it can learn from all other cars. If one car experiences something, it can share that experience with all other cars almost instantaneously. And so in a strange and unnatural way, the more driverless cars there are on the road, the better each one of them gets. This is not true for humans. We don't become better drivers because there are more drivers on the road. Become a little bit worse. But cars become better, and this you can already smell the exponential self-amplifying effect with driverless cars on the road. And Baidu, for example, has only 1 million miles of driving. So that gives you a sense of really who's ahead, who's behind, and how difficult it is to catch up. So there's a lot of new realities here, and I don't have time to go through all of them. Written a whole book, which you'll get a copy of next year, on this, the ripple effect this will have on the economy. But I just want to give you a couple of teasers, a couple of unconventional wisdoms. And first, let's just get this off the plate. That the technology is here, and it can be deployed quickly. It's not a problem. It's only a business priority question of where to deploy it. If you have any doubt, Waymo just placed an order for 62,000 autonomous Chrysler Pacificas, and other companies doing more. It's going to happen. It's going to happen quickly, and it's going to happen faster than you think. It's just a question of where and how. A lot of people still tell me, well, people like to drive, and they don't want to give up driving. That's not true. Most people will happily hand off driving. Yes, they might want to drive a car occasionally, but nobody likes to commute in a traffic jam. Some people tell me, oh, but it's going to cost a lot of infrastructure, and how are we going to build all this infrastructure for driverless cars and 5G and all this stuff and towers? The answer is driverless cars need zero infrastructure. Zero infrastructure. They need less infrastructure than people. They just need roads, bridges, and tunnels, and sometimes lane marks, but even that, not so much. They don't need signage. They don't need anything. Less infrastructure. They don't need to be connected at all. They need to be connected once in a while to offline download a map or an update, but they don't need to be connected to drive. So zero infrastructure, and we talked about skipping the landline, leapfrogging. That can certainly happen there as well. Some people say they have to be safer. But here's the sad story. The bar is low when it comes to driving. 23,000 people are killed every week by human-driven cars. 23,000, the number is rising. With all the driver assist and all these technologies, the number is rising. 23,000 people are killed every week, and most of them are children and pedestrians. Now, we talked a lot about how AI and technology can save us from disease and how we're reducing child mortality and so forth. Well, cars, human-driven cars, are the #1 killer of humans up until age 30 and 35. So we have at our fingertip to cure one of the biggest maladies out there at our fingertip, and we can still debate whether it's ethical or not and what's going to happen to insurance and all that, but we have it at our fingertip, and I'm on a crusade to make that happen. Some people think there are going to be fewer cars and the automotive industry will shrink, and I believe the opposite is going to happen. We're going to have more cars. In fact, experts agree that the actual vehicle miles traveled per capita will increase. When you give people access to driverless cars, they drive at least twice as much on average because they start using it in lots of new ways. It becomes easier, less friction. In fact, I believe that kids that are born with driverless cars already around them will use it for all kinds of reasons and activities we can't even imagine today. So the number of miles traveled is going to increase. Now, this could be bad news, could spell congestion, but it could be good news also, depending on other technologies that come into play. Maybe new form factors of vehicles that we have outside, smaller form factors, faster, cheaper, cars that coordinate their flow, transportation, new opportunities. In fact, if I look at Manhattan, half of the traffic is for delivering pizza. You take that away with drones, a lot of things happen. New opportunities to make hotels, and who knows, even Airbnb is experimenting with this. And a big opportunity is, what are people going to do in the car when they're not driving? Some people will play, some people will rest, you all are going to work, right? Everybody's going to do whatever they like to do in the car. So, I recently gave a talk at an alcohol beverage company, and they are looking forward to driverless cars. They believe they know exactly what people are going to do in the car, and they are looking forward to it. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter what industry sector. You're going to be affected by this ripple effect of autonomous vehicles. It's going to worm its way into everything. In fact, say Alibaba came to Colombia a while ago. They're very interested in driverless cars, and I was wondering, okay, they're probably interested because of deliveries, and they said, no, we're interested because we know what people are going to do in the car. They're going to shop. And we are going to be there ready with a platform. They were worried mostly about motion sickness. Motion sickness can reduce sales, they said. And they're looking for a new platform that maybe it's going to be a mechanical stabilizer, maybe it's going to be some implant, whatever it is, that's going to help you avoid motion sickness so you can buy more and do more things. A lot of opportunities that are just hidden behind the surface for creating new businesses around this. A lot of people think we're going to lose a lot of jobs because half the people are truckers and all that. And the reality is that because of the expansion of the automotive business industry, we're going to have more jobs. Not just software programmers, but we can have more car mechanics. We're going to have more road construction. We're going to have more car manufacturing. A lot more jobs are going to be created because of the expansion of the transportation business. Cleaning cars, often neglected, but when you have pods that move around, carry people on and off, a lot of cleaning has to happen. There's no robot on the planet that can clean a car. All right, this is a very complicated thing. Humans are exquisitely designed to do that. There are people say, oh, but driverless cars are going to be so expensive, people can't afford them. That's not true. Driverless cars, for one, are going to be electric, which is already will bring their price down to half. And then, because the dashboard is gone and all these other things that are half the cost of the price, I predict the cars will go down to about a third of what they cost today. A third. So you'll be able to buy multiple cars. So I think this prediction that people are not going to own cars is not true. Yes, we'll use Ubers and pods all the time, but we'll also have a couple of them that we'll use for all kinds of things, in part because when you have a driverless car, you want to put stuff in there because you can do things. You don't want to schlep all kinds of things into a pod all the time. For example, if you have kids, you want to put their car seats and keep them there. So people will own more cars, not less, but these cars will have all kinds of form factors. There's a lot of questions also about what else is going to happen, what's going to happen to family life when we don't chauffeur and don't have quality time with our kids, what's going to happen to real estate, a lot of interesting questions. What's going to happen when governments can control where people go by editing the software? A lot of issues there to be thinking about. One thing that I'll end with this is that driverless cars are going to be the ultimate machine for data collection. Not just collecting data about people in the car, not just collecting data about the roads and potholes and things, but collecting data about everything, about the weather, about real estate, about what people are wearing when they're walking, about trends, about everything. It is the ultimate data collection platform that's going to be out there and going to create all kinds of businesses. So I am sure that we'll hear more about that. So bottom line is driverless cars are not a linear play. And I think that automotive companies have been lulled to complacency by this idea that autonomy is achieved through level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gradually by improving adaptive cruise control and lane keeping and all this driver assist. But the reality, if you look at all the leaders in this space, none of them are automotive companies. They all started as tech companies specialized in robotics and AI. And that is the ultimate game here. And it's going to be hard for automotive companies to catch up with this unless they sort of buy the technology from somewhere else. But the past has been disappointing, but we are at a transition point. And I have to admit, I show this chart for every technology, but this time it's real. Right? Driverless car, we're really at this transition point. It's really happening right now, and the future is going to be nothing short of amazing. Thank you.
Stay with me, stay with me. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was like one of the best talks I've ever heard on autonomous cars. Everybody, Hod Lipson, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, beautiful job. And one of the goals that I had in presenting this was not having one company's point of view. And you did a beautiful job on the implications and all the companies, so thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.